So last week, give me a second. I'm fucking cracking
Mm.
myself up, man, so much. Um, Last week we had talked about Trisha Paytas, and not for nothing. I kind of hope this is it for a while.
I'm over her. I don't
I,
give a shit.
me kind of too. I mean, like I enjoy covering the topics, but there's been so much, and like there's a couple of other stuff that's been coming out. And people are like, oh, Papa Gut, can you talk about it? And I'm like, yeah, I will. We'll do it today. Hopefully, we'll be done. But you know what's gonna happen? We're gonna do this podcast. We're gonna talk about Trisha. We're gonna be like, oh, we'll be done for a little while.
And then in like 2 weeks top.
No, not I think 2 days. I'm gonna
You
put this
think?
clip up, and then before I even get a clip up of this, Trisha's gonna like wouldn't doubt it if she went after Mysterious T or something.
Do you think she really will?
I don't know. I have a feeling.
Well, so I just almost started talking about something. So do you just want to get right
oh
into
yeah,
it?
we'll get into the timeline. So we covered Trisha Paytas's the beginning of her like meltdown on Twitter. We covered a bunch of her tweets of her going crazy. We got up to the point where Keemstar was egging her on and being like, "Oh, Ethan's trying to dox you." By the way, thank you so much, Rage, for upgrading to a large member. I appreciate that. Anyway, Ethan went to like Keemstar made the tweet like, "Oh, Ethan's fans on Reddit are trying to dox you," blah blah blah. And she went crazy, and that's when she had the meltdown. And I made a video talking about Keemstar's contribution to that. Right after we got off, less than an hour later, boom, she had an absolute fucking meltdown. Now it's all gone finally. You saw it though, because I went right back on and I covered her meltdown.
That's the one I'm talking about, where she is sitting in her room and like.
I can enact it for you guys.
No, that's when she was
the
going.
spiritual
There was
one.
one where she was like out of control, and like I didn't watch it. The one that I watched
Oh,
is
you
where
watched
she's
her
like very calm.
Yeah, you watched her addressing things like that
Yes,
bullshit video.
that's what I want to talk about.
So yeah, no, really quick, just to get people caught up, you can go watch the video. It's just called Trisha addressing things. Trisha Paytas on my channel, like whatever. It's a live. I think I actually did. But like she had like a meltdown. She was going crazy. She was very focused on Moses and like the allegations against him. She was harassing Ethan and Hila and other people, and she went into a group chat. She's like, "Take everything down, please, stop." Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, "No, leave us alone." Rightfully so. And she's like, "Oh my God, like Moses, he would never do something like that," because there were like sexual assault allegations. And then they're like, "Well." they're like, well, you want us to believe you when it comes to the Mr. Rimey thing, even though you're on record lying about it, but then you want to invalidate this other survivor. And it was like very funny, like zinger. And Trisha's just a mess, because as you guys know, she originally claimed the teacher had like touched her, and then he got fired for CP. He got arrested for it, but then it should backpedal to like, well, he just got fired for it, and then it backpedaled to he got fired for just looking at regular pornography, and then like it's all over the place. You can't really trust what she has to say. Anyway, then I went back on. We watched the addressing nothing video. Basically, Trisha Paytas addressing nothing is basically what it was, because it was horrible. And I gave my long in-depth take on it. But like, what's your take on that?
So like just before you said that Trisha's gonna come back in like 2 days and talk about like the Mysterious T.
I really think that because I don't know what other what else does she have left
No,
to
but
lash out at Mysterious T. Honestly,
that's what I'm saying, is like I don't know if she will, because she's like completely overlooking like everything Mysterious T is talking about, which is what the real
What do you mean by
issue
overlooking?
is
Like
here.
she's looking at it, or she's not looking at it? Because overlooking, it's like, oh, you overlooked the fact that
No, like you're not paying attention to it.
So you're saying she didn't pay attention to any of it?
No, I think that in that video, the one that I said that I watched, where
Yeah.
she's sitting in like her room, it looks like where she had the baby Yoda. That
Sure.
one.
Yeah, sure.
She like kind of like casually, I would say that she casually talks about the things that like Mysterious T is addressing and the things that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
The only time I saw like true emotion and she was actually worried. And also I feel like maybe the biggest chunk of the video, I don't know, is when she talked about the shit going on with Moses.
Yeah, she doesn't.
So I
seem
feel
to
like
be...
that's like what she's concerned about right now. And I just find it interesting, because like who gives a shit?
Well, okay. So basically, with the Moses thing is that he's being accused of like sexual assault. I think it's over stealthing, which is obviously gross. But there might be another. I don't know the specifics. There are a lot of claims.
I guess like when I say I don't give a shit, I mean in the way of like Moses is like any other person who's accused of those things, whereas Trisha is like this giant like media person who's influencing like many people's lives and like preaching that she was assaulted when she wasn't. You know what I mean?
No, I know what I understand what you're saying. You're not saying you don't give a shit. What you're saying is like the Moses
like that's not the focus, right? That's a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem, but
this is not the issue right now. Yeah, like like not the issue with her. Like people aren't attacking you because like your fiance is a assaulter.
Yeah, it might have done something.
At least a creep that like.
He's definitely a creepy fuck that manipulates younger women, and they're of legal age. So like it's not like I'm not gonna say.
Yeah.
But as far as the allegation, like we can't just say that they definitely happened. We don't know the specifics. I wouldn't doubt it, but you know, what you have to do process is very important. So we can't just say something happened like without like proof. But he's definitely a scumbag. But I know what you're saying. You're saying it's an important thing to talk about. But like another thing that's really important is falsely accusing somebody of that's
and like with everything that's going on right now, like you shouldn't be talking about Moses.
Yeah, or if you're going to, like, you shouldn't just. But I think that it was actually very helpful for us that she did talk about Moses because, like you said, when you look at the two together, she's genuinely concerned about the Moses scenario because they're calling his job and saying that he's a rapist. So that's why she's really upset.
Just like, does he work for? I know this is like an aside.
He's water.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, what job are they calling?
I think that he, you know, like the mills that water goes through and it spins it around and generates electricity.
Yeah.
Moses does that because he's water.
No, but I'm being serious. What is he? Like, they're calling his job. Like, first of all,
Jewish.
His job knows that he's creepy. They're gonna pick up the phone and be like, "Oh, him?
He's like an artist or something." I don't really know. I don't think he works. I think he just mooches off of Trisha. I don't really know what the fuck she's talking about. Like maybe he has a job at like a supermarket just to be busy. I don't know. Who really gives a shit? But what we're saying, the interesting part is though, is that when she's very emotionally loaded or very emotional about the Moses part, but she's not emotional at all about the allegations that she's like falsely accusing people and she's constantly lying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem.
Yeah, I think like in that video, I found a problem with like how she just like I can't think of the wording. It's not is it glazed over? Glossed over. Like she just glossed over the whole Mr. Teacher thing. And she even like had her a couple of digs, like, oh, medical professionals.
Yeah.
Like,
oh well, no, that's something that I caught. You were actually you gave me some accolades for that.
I did.
But she had said, I forget the specific wording she used, but she was like,
I'm never. Oh yeah.
No, she's like, I'm not going to talk about any teachers who might have harmed me or medical professionals, and she threw medical professional in there of like. She threw a new allegation.
I was abused by a medical professional.
And like here's the thing. I think that we need to keep the context, like the framing here for context. Is like if anybody else made these claims, our first thought wouldn't be, oh, how I think you're wrong. Our first thought is to listen to the person. I don't believe in listen to believe everybody. I believe listen to everybody genuinely about their experience. But Trisha is on record lying so much that even if there are real traumas that she might have, which to be honest with you, I'm getting to a point where I don't believe it based on the way that she talks about particular subject matter. Like the way like her video that was the video where it was sorry, bad.
I just had to I was thinking while you were talking and I had a take that I feel like is a little risky.
Well, maybe we could talk about it. Just give me a second.
Yes,
okay?
my bad.
She had like that whole video that was like, oh, is the R word sexy or something. And like it was too comfortable. I understand people that have trauma can still be into CNC. If you don't know what that is, you probably don't need to know what it is. But the comfortability, I know that this sounds weird. I've talked to and I've actually dated a lot of assault survivors. I don't know what it is. Maybe I don't know. I don't really understand it. I don't know why. I guess I don't know.
Do you want to save people?
Oh, okay. We don't have to get all like. I'm not a good person. Just stop. But like it just happens. I don't know. But there's never a comfortability with the words used. So that's one of the things where it's like, okay, I don't know. It doesn't really add up to me. I feel like she doesn't have at least like it's possible that she does have a trauma. I don't really know.
Well, so that's what I was gonna get into is that I had the conversation with you the other day about how she was like, I'm just not gonna talk about this anymore.
Oh
and
God.
I think, don't worry,
I think that is a really.
It's just like I don't know if I would call it like a defense mechanism, but it's more just like being.
What are you talking about?
Like being like, I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
Well, it's a way to dismiss things. It's
Yeah,
a way
it's like
it's a way to
dismissive.
like emotionally punish you for. It's like if I'm telling a story and then maybe you're not interested or you've fart or something and you like lose track of what you're talking about and you're like, oh, I didn't hear what you said. Okay, well, I don't care then. I'm not going to tell you the story. I think it's like a tactic of trying to.
Yeah, it's like dismissive and like annoying, and I feel like.
And it's meant to encourage you to like ask more.
No, I feel like it's just like a way to dismiss like what like you did. Like, fine, like, I'm just not going to do this anymore. I won't do anything anymore. Like, oh, I poured the water wrong. Well, I'll never pour water again.
Yeah,
and
right.
so, like, that's essentially what she said. So my rough take, yeah, when you're smiling and laughing.
Give me your take. Okay, really quick. Hold your take in your head. So the other day, she was telling me that she's going to talk about this, and she's like, she says to me, I do that. She's like, sometimes I'll do that. Like, it's over small stuff. We don't do it over big stuff. But I say we because you literally will do like the same thing. The other day,
I've started doing it on purpose.
The other day,
now.
you spilt pasta on the floor, and you're like, I'm never making anything again. I'm not doing this ever again.
No, I didn't.
You do something like that all the time.
No, stop.
Hold on.
I spilled the pasta, and I wanted you to leave me alone so I could fucking clean it up the way that I wanted to. Then you came out of your room and got up in my shit. I just wanted to clean up the mess
when she said
that I felt stupid for making.
When she said I got up in her shit, you know what that means? I cleaned it up for her. I had the brand new vacuum that I spent $250 for because she wanted a vacuum cleaner, and I cleaned it up myself. And she got mad for me. And I was like, I wanted to help. Because she gets really upset.
So he will get like, he'll get irritated by something.
No, never.
And then sometimes like he says shit that goes too far. And I'm like, baby, like, you got to calm down with that. And he's like, fine. Like, I just won't ever talk to you about
you know what?
any of this again. So, and then he's like, sorry,
Jesus.
baby. So
it's nothing crazy. It's not that bad. Oh my, but yeah.
Anyways, back to Trisha.
Okay, back to Trisha.
So she pulled that. I'm not gonna talk about my experiences, my trauma, my assaults ever again. No matter what happens, no matter who comes out about things, I'm just not gonna talk about it again. So first of all, that tells me that like you're a manipulative asshole, which we all knew. But second of all, if you've been going on these rants for a couple of weeks, and this is the take where I'm like meh, meh, about, so I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. So.
But like if you go on this rant for a couple of weeks and you're telling me how traumatic it was for you, all these horrible things, all these people that like essentially deserve this, this, and that, and then you're just like, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. How important is it to you, really? And I know that's
no. Let me investigate because I understand what you're saying because that's one of the things is we have a very blunt take on life and whatnot. And I've been in the game of of trying to communicate my blunt takes well for a long time because I've done it poorly. I know what you're saying. It's like if you're not willing to fight for something, then like does it really mean that much to you? I think there are some people I would say fundamentally that like they don't live in. I'm not going to say they're not strong people, but like you're definitely very strong-willed. So like if it's something that means a lot to you and it's true, like you will never back down on it. There are people who aren't like that. The thing is that I think that to an extent, Trisha isn't the kind of person to like back down off a claim unless she's wrong.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and I had this critique of Serious T's video of like saying something like just because it's Trisha and like being careful, like applying it to other survivors. And like that's what I'm saying. Like it's a rough take. And like I understand the average person, and I understand, you know, having the feeling of finally speaking up about something and feeling dismissed and like going back and being closed about it. I understand that. But Trisha's is in like direct response to getting shit about having a lot of discrepancies in what she's saying.
Well, no, but the Trisha thing is a little different. So generally, a lot of because we've talked about this before too, but there are some people who've experienced a trauma and they try to express it and then they get dismissed. Like it happens. It happens more often than it should never happen. And I think Trisha's trying to ride that particular emotion, and mostly women, but men can experience it too, of being dismissed on a very real trauma. But Trisha has had every opportunity to express her trauma, and she has trauma, but she's been caught in so many lies that people aren't questioning that she has a trauma because she said so. They're questioning because she said she can, like she said, hey, here's proof. And it doesn't exist.
And that's the thing.
And we never asked for proof either. Nobody was like, oh, are you sure that happened, Trisha? Nobody said, I didn't say shit. Nobody said shit until she was like, you can look it up. It's verifiable. He got arrested. Then all of a sudden, oh, he didn't get arrested. He didn't get arrested. A different one got arrested. That was the first narrative. First, it was Mr. Rimey. He got arrested and fired for CP. And then it was like, well, actually, those two different people. One got arrested, and one just molested me. Then it shifted to Mr. Rimey actually just got fired for looking at CP, not arrested. Then it turned into, well, he might have got fired for just regular pornography. And now it's like, and
no, and that's the thing, that
what
like her changes, or rather when she corrects herself, is always too convenient. Like, if I tell a story, like I might tell you a story and then the next day I'd be like, oh yeah, like I forgot this, or this actually didn't happen. Whenever she corrects herself in that way, it's always after something that like we all saw happen.
Yeah.
So like Trisha's like living in like this bubble, I think, or she's trying to like, I really think she's trying to gaslight everyone into like not thinking that we're all saying the same thing.
Yeah, like we're
you
all,
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like she's just catching a glimpse of something and she's like, oh, no one saw this. She knows we all saw it.
Oh yeah, but she wants,
but she's trying to just like keep up on it.
But it's almost working, because we talk about it every single time, and it puts, you know what it is, it puts a little doubt in your head, and you're like, wait, am I really being an asshole? Because who wants to be the person that does a 2-hour-long podcast discovering whether or not Trisha Paytas is lying about her sexual assault? Like, that's horrible. I hate being in that position. But it's like one of those things where you shouldn't make false claims. I feel like that's not a hot take.
Yeah, no. But yeah, so I think that her like ability also, just like in the I'm not going to talk about it anymore, she also is a like the person to talk about these things if she experienced something like that. Yeah. Based on like her position in media and the influence she has.
I think that she wanted to be the person that could talk about trauma as like the figurehead of like expressing your trauma and being listened to. Unfortunately, she doesn't seem to have the trauma she talks about.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, like related to this topic in her video. Before we move on,
I had one like thing to talk about with the gaslighting, like changing the narrative. She doesn't just slightly change the narrative or forget a detail. She alters it completely. Remember, like there was a while back, she used to talk about how she hated that she was overweight and always tried to lose weight, etc., and that she was over-sexualized. Like she would sexualize herself to get attention from teachers and whatnot. And again, her doing that doesn't mean like if she is assaulted, it's her fault in any capacity. But then that shifted to, actually, I never tried to be sexualized. I always tried to dress down. And my teachers, I got myself fat so that teachers would lose interest in me. And then it went back to, and then she expressed that she had a trauma, which it's like, it's one thing to forget a detail, but it's another thing to shift the entire narrative around this trauma that you're saying that you have. But like, you can dress sexualized, get attention from teachers, and then still be assaulted, and it be 0% your fault because you're a child, and what you wear doesn't matter. So it's weird to me that she would change the whole narrative. It's not like she forgot a detail. It's a new story.
Well,
and that's what
I think that like the way in which she's expressing things does make a lot of sense, because in that video, she says the words like, I always said I never had trauma. But now, and then she goes on about how essentially like the way that social media culture is now and what are hot topics, and now she's interpreting like she's making it.
She's just creating a story around what's the hot topic. So hot topics is eating to be unattractive when you're assaulted. And over sexualizing yourself as a child. So now everything has to be like, oh, we got to like fit the narrative. Yeah. It's definitely like a ridiculous factor.
I also so during the part where she talked about Moses, everything was very like fast. She knew what she was saying, had no issues.
True.
When she was talking about her experience, her own experiences, her own trauma, she really like stumbled on her words, or like took a while to think about what she was going to say.
That's a good catch.
And for me, I just felt like, if this is what you're talking about, like, you know what you have to say. Like, you're not sitting there thinking about it. I mean, it's like, I don't know if that's too like overanalyzed.
No, I don't think it's too. Well, we're in a scenario where we have to overanalyze. When you bring all the context, I know it makes sense. So Trisha talks so fucking quickly all the time. And I think it's because she's just speaking. She's just shotgunning out. So when she was talking about Moses, she was like, oh my God, then Moses had this and that. And then they're calling a job and I don't know what's going on. Then she's talking like this, right? But when she was talking about her trauma,
she did a lot of like and like thinking and like looking to the side and trying to figure out what she was going to say next.
Yeah, and it came off as like as ingenuine for her. And now maybe she was just trying, but maybe she was trying to think carefully. But that's the thing is
She
never
doesn't think
she
carefully.
never. Well, no, but not just that she doesn't. But not only does she not think carefully, but she doesn't think carefully when it comes to expressing what she would say is her trauma. So this is a new thing. Like normally she's like, oh, trauma, and she just shotguns like all these words out of her mouth. Now all of a sudden she's sitting back and she's trying to like collect and like express it in what she would consider like a careful manner. And it's like, well, why? Why change the tonnage? And it's because she's caught lying 1,000 fucking times.
You know, I honestly think that this video was her most bizarre video we've seen, because she was really, I think that she's, like I said earlier, she's trying to like do something where like she pretends that like we're not all seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is the first time it has truly all caught up with her.
Oh, absolutely.
And so this video was bizarre because I think that she made like a typical video like she would, and she was doing all of the right things, but like nothing was happening. Like she was like, the whole time she's like, sorry, I'm shaking right now. She was sitting there calmly, like not shaking at all.
Like she was,
She
okay,
did not
so,
look like she was crying.
so
at
she was
all.
saying that she was, you're telling me that she was going through almost like she was doing like a reading for a play where she was like, oh, sorry, I'm shaking, but she wasn't shaking.
No, and I feel like I said, I think this is that the video we're talking about was a typical video of Trisha's, because she always gets into these situations, but I think this is the first time that like it has truly caught up to her,
Right,
where like
yeah,
she didn't
yeah.
even know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So she did all the things she usually does, but like it didn't
But she
work.
just didn't. She didn't have the mannerisms with it. That's a good
Yeah.
catch. Yeah, that's a very good catch. Interesting. Is there any more that you want to talk about with this topic?
No, I think this
Good, because we're getting a lot
yeah.
of demand.